Here at the Slants HQ, here to read you a whopping 6 episodes of Slants. This includes an entire storyline. This storyline involves a series of the Void, and includes the episodes of Return to Craholea, Takeover Part 1, Takeover Part 2, Welcome Home, Algae Bomb, and Remus's Proposal. This takes place right after Good Hexblades in training. We'll start with Return to Craholea. The Slants are called to Craholea from the Escape from Spider Planet saga from Season 7 by the GTO with news that Goitech, a newish corporation, is hiding out in the corners of the planet and may be doing sketchy things. The GTO has raised suspicions because Goi is Yogg backwards, which is the first syllable of Yogg-Sothoth, the Void deity who may have ties to Voizon. It isn't much to go on, but the GTO desperately needs some leads at this point. On the way there, Klubich and Sloggle can to Dridavar, who seems everyone has forgotten about in all the commotion, but they do not very much. On the planet, Kodego, a chef and rebellion leader in Escape from Spider Planet, tells the Slants that what they need to do and where they need to go. The Slants set up camp in the subway station in Cananaburg to observe Goitech. One night, an android named Moshi, who went along with the Slants on the mission, sneaks out of the Slants camp at night and creeps into the subway, where he's found by 2 guards. The guards obviously did not want Moshi there, and they told him to back off, civilian. Moshi runs away, but he comes back in as soon as the guards are gone. He encounters a room with the bioreactor, in which he sees Goitech employees putting Yinzar into the bioreactor. Yinzar are the native race to the planet Craholea. He races back to the Slants camp, where he wakes up a sleeping Remus. Moshi tells Remus the whole story, and then Remus wakes up the other Slants, excluding Slug and Klubich, who are already in a room researching Dridavar some more, which Remus doesn't think much of in all the urgency. And the Slants rush to the subway tunnel with Moshi, battle some more guards, which Klubich notices have series of the Void uniforms, and encounter a locked door leading to the bioreactor, which Charlie blasts open with his railgun. Behind the door is Voizon himself, shoving Yinzar into the bioreactor. Remus blasts Voizon into the wall with a silver magic beam, attempts to destroy the bioreactor and fails, and leads the Slants to escape. The story makes news all over the Milky Way, Coat, and the Pusendat Union, and the Slants realize that things are about to get a lot more complicated. Takeover Part 1, Apocalypse Prep. After the incident in Cananaburg, the GTO is in confusion. Zalel does some statistics and infers that the Seers of the Void will take over the Craholea in the next few weeks. During that time, Vectum Boxa tells Slug to research a mysterious area by Truce, the city that the Warden was once the mayor of, as part of the new Dridavar investigation. Slug goes to site, but he can't see anyone there, so he decides to switch to his thermal vision. He sees 2 figures standing in the field. One is a Qual, most likely Voizon, and the other one is what looks like an Umbuk, whose temperature is negative 10 degrees Kelvin, or negative 477.67 degrees Fahrenheit. Negative 1 Kelvin is even impossible itself. The Umbuk gives the Qual key that is negative 5 degrees Kelvin. Slug reports back to Vectum about what he sees. After that, Remus finds a letter at the GTO base. The letter is from Voizon, and is a declaration of war. In the declaration, Voizon states that the war's first battle will begin at Truce Craholea a week from now. Remus brings the information up at the Noru GTO base, and Dr. Goodwell tasks the Slants with getting the Starnight Army of the Federation, the Pusendat Union's Navy, and the Utopian Guard to help the GTO. Remus goes to the Federation's capital city of Gateblade to convince them to help the GTO. Octopow and Zalel go to the Union's base on Dryke to do the same, and Adzon goes to Utopia, the Utopian dimension, to get the help of the Utopian Guard, along with the aid of the Ice Lords, spiritual Utopians who possess giant, icy creatures. The Ice Lords were sort of like ancient slants where the GTOs comprehended. In the span of a few stressful days, Remus, Zalel, Adzon, and Octopow return to the Noru GTO base. They then deliver the information that all of the armies are arriving to help the GTO battle Seers of the Void. Adzon does state that the Ice Lords may or may not arrive. After the information is delivered, the armies arrive at Truce, ready to fight. To be continued in this episode. Takeover Part 2, Battle for Craholea. A giant meeting is being held by all the good galactic powers at Truce. Shortly after, they go into battle against the Seers of the Void, who are aided by their Netherons, sentient void monsters. Much battling happens, but the Seers inevitably get the upper hand during the fight. The fighting continues until many portals open up and the ice swords come out of them. With the good ice swords having joined the battle, this gives the Slants the upper hand. However, even more portals open, and out comes Nyarlathotep, messenger of the void deities, along with Jackalus. They join the battle, and Jackalus seems not to care about how Voizon dissolved the Criticans and killed Dritigus/Hexalus/Lance Staples. Eventually, more Netherons and Dark Gods came out of the portals and joined the battle against the Slants and others. At this point, Seers of the Void clearly had the upper hand. And so, this is when Deathcrafter, the Voidhead, and the Voidhead Yog-Sothoth's right hand, Dead Umbuka Sword of Soul, and the figure that Slug saw with Voizon comes out. Deathcrafter observes the battle until he's challenged to fight by Lance Staples, who has a metal plate bolted over his bullet wound. Lance Staples battles and presumably kills the Deathcrafter and joins the Slants in the battle. Somewhere along the line, Oliver intercepts the key that Deathcrafter gave to Voizon, and the Slants continue the battle. However, they are no match for the Netherons and Jackalus. Soon after, the Netherons had taken over Craholea. Eventually, Yog-Sothoth, the Voidhead and lead Netheron, comes through a portal to check out the post-battle scene. He sees Jackalus lying in the mud, all beaten up, and decides that he would like Jackalus to work for him specifically, and Jackalus agrees. No one knows where or if Deathcrafter may be, but the battle has clearly been won by the Seers of the Void and the Netherons. In Truce's ruins, a new Seers of the Void base is being built, as the Slants and the remaining members of the armies flee. To be continued. Welcome home. Warning, this episode contains many revelations and spoilers. That's because you have to scroll from the bottom and read from the bottom to the top. Welcome home. Warning, this episode contains many revelations and spoilers. While pondering at the GTO base, Adzon remembers a species of tarantula-like gods created by the Utopians who used the Four Cubes, artifacts of creation that are now in the Border World. The species of gods lived in a dimension that was all city, Yin. Those gods were called the Yinzar. The Yinzar fled Yin because of a dangerous leak of sodium energy. The energy also destroyed the portal to Yin and Utopia, the Utopian's dimension. Adzon puts two and two together, and he realizes that the Yinzar somehow turned from gods to mortals, and then they repopulated on the planet Craholea in Universe, the mortal dimension. After bringing this up to the Warden and the rest of the Slants, Remus decides for the Slants to go to Utopia in order to find some information. After going to Utopia, Indy, Oliver, and Adzon guide the rest of the Slants through it. Indy and Oliver recognize a few faces there, because they went there many times during the 2-year gap between Season 7 and 8. Once the Slants get to the head information bank, Adzon goes to find the tablet that shows how to get to Yin. During that time, the death key that was on Oliver's staff, he recovered it from Deathcrafter and found out it was a death key, breaks free and telepathically communicates with him. It tells him that it has some secrets to share with the Warden. Oliver tells this to the Warden. Oliver then gets the feeling that the key will be very angry if it doesn't tell Warden the secrets. Warden then agrees and listens to the death key, and it psychically unlocks his lost memories. The Warden's actual name is Makuti. Makuti ruled Yin as its mayor and king. Although Makuti ruled fairly and well, he could not stop a sodium energy leak from the Aether, another dimension. In a panic, he ordered the construction of an egg-shaped evacuation ship to bring his people, the Yinzar, to somewhere safer. The thorium didn't damage Yin's tech, but it was lethal to many Yinzar, and it made the city's portals go haywire, disconnecting Yin from Utopia's hall portals. To get enough power for the evacuation ship to make a portal out of Yin, Makuti drained all the deity energy from the Yinzar, including himself. This turned them into mortals. The easiest dimension for the evacuation ship to go was Universe, when the ship arrived right by a habitable planet, Craholea. The evacuation ship settled, it, along with all the tech that the Yinzar could bring, snuck into a marsh. The Yinzar had to start over, making a new society across Craholea, naming Makuti their king. The energy lost by the Yinzar returned to them, but they stayed mortals. After Makuti died of old age, he was reincarnated into a Yinzar egg sac that had just materialized in the City of Truce. because Yin's are spider people. That Yin's arm was named Makuti, and he retained the memories of his quote-unquote father. Once he died, another incarnate egg sac appeared. This has happened hundreds of millions of times, but every time a Makuti was born, he remembered less and less memories about his previous lives, until he forgot all of his previous memories, including his name. He then went by the Warden. The Ainzar eventually devolved into slavers after many wars, but truth, along with a few other settlements, continued to be moral, but isolated. After worrying about this, along with recovering all of the previous Makutis/Warden's memories, Makuti takes a long walk through Utopia while he contemplates. Makuti eventually decides that he needs to present his fellow Yinzar with the information. With the Utopian's help, Makuti somehow recovers the information into a crystal from the Aether. He rallies all of the Yinzar to Afhad Khan, where he magically unlocks the power within his people, turning them into deities. He, along with all the other Yinzar, levitate into the air, and they use telepathy to pull the evacuation ship out of the mud marsh by the city. Once the ship gets free, Makuti opens the doors. The Yinzar flock in, and they secure the thorium crystal in the ship's power port. Makuti, Kodego, and Makuti's other trusted friends pilot the evacuation ship to the border world, the place where they can find the cube bearer's help in the way to Yin. With the portal, and the slants follow close in their spaceship. The evacuation ship and the slants go to the sand dunes where the cube bearer lives. They find out that the current cube bearer is none other than Jixaro, a Season 6 lightning god and dark god. Remus orders the slants to draw their weapons into attack, but Jixaro stops him, and the slants with a gravity barrier from a moment. After he releases them, Jixaro explains that he has been revived by the creators, that he has changed, and can be trusted. He even shows the signature from the creators for being the cube bearer, and proves that it is not forged. Makuti steps out of the evacuation ship and asks for a portal to Yin. Jixaro agrees, and makes a portal to Yin, gives Yin access to the evacuation ship, and reopens all portals to Yin that were closed during the thorium leak. The slants and Makuti thank Jixaro, and they go to Yin. After everyone goes through the portal, Jixaro is about to close it, but before he can, Deathcrafter, who has regenerated his body, and a few Netherlands creep from behind a sand dune and try to intimidate Jixaro in order to take over Yin. Jixaro then says, "Not in a dozen eons, an imp," and he proceeds to make a portal to the Void/Nether, and he shoves Deathcrafter and the Netherlands in the portal and as he closes it, along with the Yin portal. Before the portal closes, Deathcrafter says, "Don't call me an imp!" Information bank in Utopia, and a picture of Yin. And now we will read Algae Bomb. In the Void, Yogg-Sothoth announces that he wants Voizon to become a Netherin. He leaves Deathcrafter to do the ceremony, and Deathcrafter says that he is disappointed in Voizon for losing the memory key, presumably the death key that Slugfound gave to Oliver. But that Voizon may have more potential as an immortal. In a strange demonic voice, Deathcrafter instructs two Netherins to bring out a coffin and reads the following passage from an ancient dusty book. "This is the ritual of destiny and fate, transcribed by the cursed and the blessed souls of the void. Voizon, the Qual, are you cursed?" A telepathic voice comes out inside the coffin. "Yes," says Voizon. Deathcrafter reads, "Are you blessed by the void?" A cocoon comes out of the coffin. Voizon inside says, "Yes." "Do you carry the spirit of the void wherever you go?" "Yes." Deathcrafter sticks the scythe end of his scythe hammer into Voizon's cocoon, making Voizon only tell the truth. Deathcrafter asks, "Are you worthy?" Voizon responds, "Yes." Yogg-Sothoth declares Voizon Zyglax and proceeds to do Jackal's ceremony. Meanwhile, in Craholea, Zal-El, Vectum Boxit, and Vectum's interns move a 20-sided weaponized algae nuke from Yin onto a towing ship and fly it to truce. Klubitsch shows Slug a purplish metal box, and they and Remus try to figure out what it means. When they find Utopian lettering, they call on Oliver and Azon to translate it. They translate it to "property of the Honorable Yogg-Sothoth." Remus warns us deeply not to open the box, as it may be a bomb or some kind of an evil spirit. Everyone listens, and they proceed to drop the bomb on the Seer's base once they get to truce. The slants drop the bomb, and surprisingly, the base and everyone in it was obliterated into a giant crater. The slants, happy about this easy defeat, go home to enjoy parades, medals, awards, and tons of celebrations shortly before going to a few Neogi missions. After the missions, the slants return to the Noru main base. After the slants return to the base, there are many resignations, the last of which is Indy's. Indy tells Remus that she was glad she did her job as a slant, but she can't take any more pressure. She says that she hopes to become a sub-slant, like Remus was in the earlier days of the Old Wars, which means that she will still go on certain missions to help the slants, but she will not do all of them. She also tells Remus that she thinks that Seers in the Netherlands were defeated too quickly, and she is suspicious that they may somehow return again, even though their only main base was blown to smithereens and all. Remus asks her to stick around for a couple more short Neogi missions, which she agrees to, as it is early in the month and her resignation doesn't take full effect till the end. She leaves the building and proceeds to head home. On the way home, Indy is mugged by someone with some sort of a sock mask. The figure is a sentient monkey, like Charlie but a bit taller. Indy blasts this monkey straight in the face with an Estalonic magic beam, but then the monkey keeps shooting at Indy with a rail rifle. Indy ducks behind a few houses, climbs over a highway home separator, and crawls across several lines until finally reaching her own place, where she then runs inside, slams the door shut, pants a few times, and turns on the news when she hears a special knock at the door. Cautiously, she answers it, but all there is a small package. Nervously, Indy opens the package, but all there is in that is an envelope. She opens it, and inside there's a letter that reads, "You haven't seen the last, the Crime Frog Syndicate." To be continued. Mini-episode, Remus's proposal. After a month or two after the events of the Algae bomb, Remus goes to a family gathering at Vecna house. During the gathering, Remus proposes to Levada. She accepts, and they both decide to be married exactly 1 year from now. For now, Remus and Levada are fiancés. And, in case you forgot, Levada was Remus's girlfriend from the late Hexagon storyline. Well, that is the end of the first post-Hex storyline, and the next storyline will begin on June 22nd, a Tuesday. After the reason an episode will be published then is because the reason an episode will be published then is because that is the 2-year anniversary of the final battle against John Diaz, of the final battle, end of season 5, end of Slant's Old Wars, and beginning of Slant's Next Generation. And normal episode times will resume on Sundays, and it will either resume on the 27th of June or Independence Day. Well, that was a Slant epic storyline. Stay tuned to the Slants channel for more videos. Nyak out.